AI is rewriting history. 7 ancient messages deciphered. In 2023, scientists announced they had read a text that no human eye has seen in 1,944 years. Not a fragment, not a summary, the complete work. Every word, every philosophical argument, every margin note scribbled by an ancient reader who died when Rome still ruled the world. The text is still sealed shut, welded into a cylinder of charcoal. Touch it, and it crumbles to black dust. But the machine doesn't need to touch it. It reads through the carbon itself, through layers of ash and time, through the atomic ghost of ink that stopped flowing the day Mount Vesuvius exploded. What it found changes everything we thought we knew about what's lost and what's recoverable. Because here's the truth they're not advertising. The past isn't gone. We just didn't have the right tools to hear it. Until now. This is the story of 7 ancient mysteries, scrolls burned to ash, languages dead for millennia, codes that defeated the greatest minds in history, and how artificial intelligence is bringing them back from the grave. Not metaphorically, literally, word by word, letter by letter. The age of lost history is ending, and what's coming back is stranger than we ever imagined. 1. The library that burned but never died. August 24th, 79 AD. Herculaneum, the luxury resort town for Rome's elite, sits in the shadow of Vesuvius, unaware that in a few hours, the mountain will erase it from existence. In one villa, owned by Julius Caesar's father-in-law, sits the only intact private library from the ancient world. Over 1,800 scrolls, Greek philosophy, Roman poetry, works that exist nowhere else on Earth. Then the pyroclastic surge hits, not lava, superheated gas, and ash moving at 450 miles per hour, reaching temperatures over 750 degrees Fahrenheit. The library doesn't burn, it carbonizes. Instantly, the papyrus scrolls transform into solid lumps of charcoal, their layers fused into a single brittle mass. The villa is buried under 65 feet of volcanic mud that hardens into rock. The city vanishes, forgotten for 1,671 years, until 1750, when well diggers break through into buried rooms. Marble everywhere, frescoes still vibrant, bronze statues, and then the scrolls, hundreds of them, still on their shelves, still arranged exactly as they were the instant the world ended. Europe loses its mind. This is the discovery. The only chance to recover lost classical texts. But there's a catastrophic problem. You can't open them. The scrolls aren't rolled anymore. They're welded shut. Petrified. Try to unroll one, and it explodes into fragments. Scholars try everything. Knives, chemicals, careful peeling, steam. They destroy scroll after scroll. A few fragments survive, enough to confirm the texts are real, readable, revolutionary. But most remain sealed, unreadable, taunting. For 273 years, the Herculaneum scrolls sit in museums as humanity's most maddening treasure. Knowledge we know exists but cannot access, like finding a hard drive from another civilization and having no way to plug it in. Until Dr. Brent Seals at the University of Kentucky has an idea that sounds insane. Read the scrolls without opening them. His team uses particle accelerators, machines designed for physics experiments, to scan the scrolls with high-energy X-rays. The X-rays penetrate the carbonized layers. And here's the trick. Ancient ink, made from carbon and metal compounds, has a slightly different density than the papyrus beneath it. The difference is microscopic, invisible even under magnification. But the X-ray scanner sees it. The scrolls are mapped in 3 dimensions, layer by layer, at atomic resolution. Then comes the AI. The raw scan data is incomprehensible to humans, millions of density measurements, a 3D maze of carbon variations. The machine learning algorithm is trained to detect patterns, to recognize where ink density ends and papyrus density begins, to trace the ghostly signature of text written 2 millennia ago. And in 2023, it works. The first scroll deciphered is a work by Philodemus, On Pleasure, an Epicurean treatise arguing that the gods don't intervene in human affairs, that death is nothing to fear, that pleasure is the absence of pain. Radical ideas, dangerous ideas, to Roman authorities who preferred citizens to fear divine punishment. But here's what makes this profound. The AI didn't just recover the text. It recovered the margins, notes written by ancient readers, corrections by scribes, entire layers of intellectual history showing how these ideas were debated, challenged, revised. The past isn't speaking in monologue anymore. It's arguing with itself, and there are hundreds more scrolls waiting. 2. The Bible's hidden ghost writers. A Bedouin shepherd named Muhammad ad-Dib throws a rock into a cave near the Dead Sea. He hears pottery shatter. Inside the cave, clay jars. Inside the jars, scrolls wrapped in linen, sealed for 2,000 years. The Dead Sea Scrolls, the oldest manuscripts of the Hebrew Bible ever found, predating every other copy by a millennium. They're not just religious texts. They're forensic evidence of how the Bible evolved before it became the Bible. For 70 years, scholars examine them obsessively, every word cataloged, every spelling variation noted. But one question remains maddeningly unanswered. Who wrote them? Ancient scribes didn't sign their work. Writing was communal, anonymous, sacred. And the handwriting looks uniform, neat, disciplined, consistent. One major scroll, the Great Isaiah Scroll, appears to be the work of a single scribe. One person writing 66 columns of text with machine-like precision. Or so everyone thought. In 2021, researchers at the University of Groningen photographed the scroll in extreme high resolution, high enough to capture individual ink grains, microscopic pressure variations, the tiniest wobbles in letter formation. They feed these images to a machine learning algorithm trained to detect handwriting patterns invisible to human eyes. The AI analyzes stroke width, pen angle, pressure distribution, letter spacing. Variables so subtle that even forensic handwriting experts can't consciously perceive them. And the algorithm finds something shocking. 2 scribes, not working sequentially, alternating. One scribe writes a column, the next scribe writes the following column. Their handwriting is nearly identical, trained to mimic each other, so precisely that centuries of expert analysis missed it entirely. But the AI catches infinitesimal differences. The second scribe presses slightly harder on certain letters. His letter Aleph leans 0.3 degrees more to the right. His spacing between words is 2% tighter. 2 people writing as one, so synchronized that even their errors match. The implications detonate through biblical scholarship. This isn't the work of isolated hermits copying texts in solitude. It's industrial-scale production, a trained institution, a scriptorium with quality control, standardization, oversight. The Bible, at its earliest stage, was a collaborative work, not divine dictation to a lone prophet, not the vision of individual genius. Anonymous artisans working in disciplined teams, preserving sacred text with obsessive precision. The AI didn't just tell us what the scrolls say. It revealed the invisible workforce that created them. The dead scribes were never alone. They just wanted us to think they were. 3. The empire that lost its voice. 1st century AD, Central Asia. An empire rises across what is now Afghanistan, Pakistan, and northern India. The Kushan Empire, a superpower controlling the Silk Road, minting gold coins, building Buddhist monasteries, patronizing art that blends Greek, Persian, and Indian styles. Kings with names like Kanishk and Huvishka rule for decades. Their statues fill museums. Their coins circulate among collectors. Archaeological sites dot the landscape, but we can't read their language. The Kushans wrote in Bactrian, an extinct Iranian language recorded in modified Greek script. Hundreds of inscriptions survive on coins, monuments, administrative seals. But there's no Rosetta Stone, no bilingual text, no key. For over a century, scholars stare at Bactrian texts and see gibberish. The alphabet is Greek, but the words make no sense. The grammar is unknown. Entire royal decrees remain indecipherable. Then, in 2020, a team at the University of Oxford tries something unprecedented. They build an AI trained not on Bactrian because there's no training data, but on pattern recognition across dozens of ancient languages. The algorithm's job finds structural similarities, grammatical echoes, borrowed vocabulary. The AI analyzes Bactrian inscriptions looking for repeated word clusters, positional patterns that might indicate syntax, proper nouns, names of kings, gods, cities that appear in similar contexts. And it finds them. The algorithm identifies that Bactrian shares grammatical structures with Sogdian and Middle Persian. It detects case endings, verb patterns, subject-object-verb-word, order. It doesn't translate word for word. It builds a probabilistic grammar map. Within 18 months, linguists are reading Bactrian. Not fluently, but functionally, and what emerges is heartbreakingly ordinary. Tax receipts, land grants, a king ordering road repairs, a merchant registering a complaint about tariffs, a Buddhist monastery recording a donation. The Kushan Empire wasn't mythical. It was bureaucratic. Its rulers weren't gods. They were administrators dealing with potholes and revenue shortfalls. An entire civilization, silent for 17 centuries, gets its voice back. And it sounds exactly like us. The AI didn't resurrect legends. It resurrected paperwork. And somehow, that's more profound. 4. The desert's hidden warnings. Southern Peru. The Nazca Desert. You know the images. A spider the size of a city block. A monkey. A hummingbird. Geoglyphs carved into the plateau between 500 BC and 500 AD, visible only from the air. For decades, they're wrapped in fringe theories. Ancient astronaut enthusiasts claim they're alien landing strips. New Age mystics see energy grids. The academic consensus is more grounded, ritual pathways, astronomical alignments, but incomplete, because the geoglyphs we know are just the famous ones, the obvious ones, the figures large and clear enough to spot from an airplane. What if there are more hidden in plain sight? In 2019, researchers from Yamagata University deploy an AI trained on satellite imagery and LiDAR scans. The algorithm's task: analyze thousands of square kilometers of desert and flag anything that looks like deliberate human modification. Not just big shapes, everything. The AI finds 143 new geoglyphs in 4 months. Not all are animals. Many are humanoid figures. Some are abstract, spirals, grids, zigzags. Some cluster near ancient pathways. Others are isolated, miles from any known site. And here's the critical discovery. The newly found geoglyphs are older than the famous ones. Cruder, more violent. Many depict decapitations. Warriors clutching severed heads. Bodies in ritual sacrifice poses. The Nazca lines weren't cosmic messages. They were territorial warnings. Displays of power carved into the earth for approaching travelers to see. Propaganda etched at a scale meant to intimidate. The mystery didn't vanish. It got darker. The AI stripped away the romanticized narrative and revealed something more disturbing. Human brutality projected onto the landscape with geometric precision. The lines weren't reaching for the gods. They were reminding neighbors who ruled this valley. And what happened to those who challenged that rule? The desert wasn't a canvas for spirituality. It was a billboard for violence. 5. The Mesopotamian Complaint Department. Mesopotamia, the birthplace of writing. Over 5,000 years ago, Sumerian scribes pressed cuneiform script into wet clay tablets with reed styluses. The tablets were baked, hardened, and, by archaeological luck, survived. 500,000 tablets exist today, scattered across museums worldwide. Fewer than 100,000 have been translated, not because they're undecipherable, because there aren't enough humans who can read cuneiform. It takes years to learn. Maybe 200 experts globally are fluent. At current rates, translating the backlog would take 3 centuries. So, in 2020, researchers at Ludwig Maximilian University in Munich build a cuneiform reading AI. They feed it thousands of already translated tablets, teaching the algorithm to recognize signs, grammatical structures, common phrases. Then they unleash it on the untranslated archives. The AI churns out rough translations. Not literary, not perfect, but good enough for scholars to identify content, prioritize important texts, filter the noise from the signal. And the results are humbling. Most tablets aren't religious epics or royal proclamations. They're complaints. A scathing letter from a buyer named Nanny to a copper merchant named Inasir circa 1750 BC, complaining about low-quality metal and demanding a refund. The tone is sarcastic, passive-aggressive, modern. A student's homework assignment graded and corrected by a teacher. The mistakes are circled in red. Well, in different cuneiform. A worker's timesheet, a grocery list, a receipt for barley. The ancient world wasn't grand speeches and philosophical wisdom. It was bureaucracy, tedium, the same frustrations we experience today, just pressed into clay instead of typed into emails. The AI didn't uncover hidden knowledge. It uncovered hidden humanity. And in doing so, it collapsed the distance between then and now. The Mesopotamians weren't mysterious ancients. They were us, angry about bad customer service. 6. The book that defeated everyone. The Voynich manuscript, dated to the early 15th century. 240 pages of unknown script, accompanied by bizarre illustrations. Plants that don't exist, astronomical diagrams that make no sense, naked women bathing in green liquid connected by tubes. No one can read it, not for lack of trying. Cryptographers from World War II tried. Linguists, mathematicians, computer scientists, every attempt failed. Theories proliferate. It's an elaborate cipher. It's a hoax. It's glossolalia, speaking in tongues. It's an alien language. In 2018, an AI researcher at the University of Alberta tries a different approach. Instead of trying to translate the manuscript, he asks a simpler question: is it real language or random noise? The AI measures linguistic entropy, the degree of predictability in the text. Real languages fall in a specific entropy range. Too low, and it's repetitive nonsense like buffalo, buffalo, buffalo. Too high, and it's random gibberish. The Voynich text falls right in the middle, exactly where natural languages sit. The algorithm also detects grammatical patterns, repeated word structures that suggest syntax, positional regularities, statistical distributions matching known linguistic rules. The conclusion: the Voynich manuscript is not a hoax. It's not random. It's a real language or an extremely sophisticated cipher based on linguistic structure. We still can't read it. The content remains locked, but we know it means something. That changes everything. For 600 years, the Voynich manuscript has been dismissed as either forgery or madness. The AI proved it's neither. The mystery is still unsolved, but now we know it's solvable. The answer exists. We just need the right question. And the machines are learning to ask. 7. The invisible ink speaks. Palimpsests, recycled manuscripts. In medieval times, parchment was expensive. Scribes would scrape off old text and write new text on top. The original writing, supposedly erased, would fade into invisibility. For centuries, scholars knew ancient texts were hiding under later manuscripts. But the underwriting was too faint. Even with ultraviolet light, most remained unreadable. Then came multispectral imaging. Photograph the manuscript under dozens of different wavelengths: ultraviolet, infrared, X-ray. Each wavelength reveals different layers of ink. But the real breakthrough was the AI. Researchers at the Rochester Institute of Technology trained algorithms to analyze multispectral images and separate overlapping layers of text. The machine learning model identifies ink chemistry, differentiates between layers written centuries apart, and reconstructs the erased text. In 2020, this technique recovered a lost work by the ancient Greek mathematician Archimedes, the method hidden under a 13th century prayer book. The text revealed mathematical concepts that wouldn't be rediscovered until the calculus of Newton and Leibniz 2,000 years later. In 2022, Researchers used the same technique on Syriac palimpsests and found lost Christian gospels, alternative versions of biblical stories erased and written over by later scribes who deemed them heretical. The AI doesn't just see what's on the page. It sees what was removed from the page. The past isn't a single text. It's layers, revisions, deletions, censorship, theological edits. And now, for the first time, we can see what they tried to erase. The pattern. 7 mysteries. 7 breakthroughs. And the pattern is always the same. Human eyes see nothing. Human effort fails. The AI sees patterns we can't perceive. The dead speak. The carbonized scrolls. The invisible scribes. The lost language. The hidden geoglyphs. The untranslated archives. The unbreakable code. The erased text. For centuries, we stared at these artifacts and accepted defeat. We called them lost, unrecoverable, beyond human reach, but they were never lost. We were just asking the wrong questions, using the wrong tools, trusting our eyes when we should have been trusting mathematics. Because here's the truth, the AI doesn't have magic. It has patience. Inhuman, relentless, computational patience. It can analyze 1 million data points without fatigue, detect patterns invisible to perception, iterate endlessly without frustration or despair. It doesn't assume something is impossible just because humans haven't solved it in 2,000 years. And because of that, history is no longer fixed. It's fluid, expanding, self-correcting. The archive isn't closed. It's opening. What comes next? Right now, in museums around the world, there are artifacts we've filed away as hopeless. Text too damaged, languages too obscure, inscriptions too worn. They're cataloged, photographed, stored, and forgotten. But they're not gone. They're waiting for better algorithms, higher resolution, the right question. The greatest discoveries in archaeology won't come from new excavations. They'll come from re-examining what's already on the shelf. We've been sitting on a treasure trove of knowledge for centuries, unable to access it. Like finding hard drives from an alien civilization and not having the right cable. But now we're building the cable. And what comes back is going to rewrite everything. Not just history, our understanding of who we are, where we came from, what we've forgotten. Because the past isn't dead. It's not even past. It's encrypted, encoded in ash and stone and faded ink. And the machines are learning to read the code. The books are still burning. But this time, we're reading them through the flames.